Hello, this is the guide to your take-home craft from the Philmont Library. It's a hand embroidery kit to create a snow globe. So some of the things that come in your kit will be a embroidery needle, a pattern, 6-inch embroidery hoop. You can start to unscrew and get the bottom hoop out. To just make it slightly looser and it pops out from under. You'll take your fabric and place it on top of the smaller hoop, somewhat in the middle. And then you're gonna take your pattern and you're gonna look for a way to peel it like a sticker. And take your time so you get the whole pattern. Now you want to put the sticky part down onto the fabric and try and center it in the middle and just give it a pat so it connects to the fabric. And when you're ready, get the second hoop and you can place it on the outside and see if you like where everything has landed. And if you don't, you can move the pattern again, move the hoop, pull out the fabric on different sides. And make sure you kind of screw on top so that the fabric itself is tight. And you pull out any kind of little dimples or dents or things like that. And so now you're ready to begin stitching. You're gonna find your needle and your needle threader. See if you can try and get it through the hole of the needle. And from there, you're gonna take your black thread, point it down, loop it through the needle threader. Oh, and mine wasn't connected. So it's connected through my threader, but not my needle. So sometimes this can be tricky. And now it's threaded through my needle. I'm going to start on the outer edge of the snow globe, and we're going to start with something called split stitch. So see if you can start at one end, come up with your needle from underneath, and you're going to pull your thread through and leave a little on the end. You're going to go slightly forward as much as you can, try to stay on the line and pull it through. And now you're going to go back in the middle of the stitch you just did. Come up through there and go forward one. So same thing again. You're going to come up from the back and try and find the middle of the last stitch you just did. Pull the needle up through that. and then go forward 1 stitch. So as you're making your way around, your fabric or the sticker might pop up a little. You can use your hands to tighten the fabric, and be sure to take your time moving forward and make sure that each stitch is the way you want it to look. You can always take things out and change them along the way. But sometimes it can be challenging to find the middle of the last stitch, but it gives it a different textured look that I really like. So continue doing this all the way around. So now that you've finished the outside of the snow globe, you're going to continue with black thread on your needle, and we're going to do the pieces of coal on the snowman's face, and we're going to practice French knots. So you're going to come up on the bottom of the snowman. On this side, just leave a little bit of thread, and you can hold it with your finger if you'd like. If not, you're gonna need your hand for this one, so see if you can maybe place it down, find the tip of your needle, and you're gonna wrap the thread around it 1 time. So you're gonna take it over and it's wrapped, and you're gonna aim to take the needle back down the same hole that you brought it through with the first stitch, and see if you can use your finger to hold the thread to the side as you do that. And it leaves a little French knot. And so these are really complicated and take a while to understand how to do, so do not get frustrated. We're gonna do a few more. So you're gonna take, I'm right-handed, so with my left hand, I'm gonna take the thread to the side, wrap it over the top of the needle, and hold it out to the side. With the tip of the needle, I'm gonna go back down through the same hole, continuing to hold the thread out tight, and drop my needle back down through. It helps to hold the thread out to the side to make it look more of a tight knot. And then finish doing the mouth. So now we're gonna start doing the white thread. So if you need to change using the needle threader, feel free to do that here. And we're gonna start similar to the outer line. We're gonna do split stitch and fill in the lines for the snowman. So you might want to make your stitches a little bit smaller, just because with the curve it helps to kind of give it adaptability if your stitches are a little bit tighter. And you're going to go back through the middle and go forward. So same stitch, different color. If you can, try to make it a little bit smaller, okay? If not, that's totally fine. So continue on, and you're just going to fill in the outline of the snowman. So you've finished the outline of the snowman, and then we're going to start with the white thread to fill in the snow bank. And we're going to do something called satin stitch, and it's going to fill in the whole thing. So we're just going to start at the bottom of the snowman. And we're going to, for me, I like to go from the left side to the right side. And slowly fill in each line. It's up to you. Some people like to go different directions. And if you'd like to make it fluffier, you can kind of leave your thread a little bit looser or pull it tighter. So take your time, have fun filling in, and you're going to use this edge and fill in this, and use this line to fill in here. So just so once you hit this line, keep going on the inside of it to fill in the outline. So once you finished one snowbank, you can go and start to fill in the second one. So after you've filled in your snowbanks, we're going to continue using white in your needle, and we're going to do a few snowflakes and a few French knots for snowflakes, so if you see any of the dots. So for these snowflakes, we're just going to do something called straight stitch, which is exactly as it sounds. You're just going to find the opposite end and go straight across. And there is a tiny snowflake. And then if you see ones that have a tiny dot, that means you're gonna do a French knot like we did with the snowman. So pull it all the way through, hold it to the left. You're gonna wrap it over the needle one time, then keep pulling it tight as you go back through the same hole that you brought the needle out of. So continue to do that. There's one more and a few random snowflakes. So now we're gonna start working on the nose of the snowman. You're gonna use your orange thread and see if you can fill in along the lines. You might not get very many stitches, and that's okay. We just wanna have a little bit showing that he does have a carrot stick nose. Okay, so you have filled in the carrot, and now we're gonna fill in the trees and start by doing coming up through the bottom, and we're just gonna stitch going forward. Something called back stitch or outline stitch. It's called many different things, but we're just gonna go straight up and down and fill out the outline of the tree. Once you've filled in the trees, you're going to do the same technique to fill in the arms. So you can do straight stitch, or you can do the outline stitch, which kind of, you can see the difference is straight goes across, and then outline gives you a few more bumps and texture. So up to you on this side with brown thread. So now we're going to move to red thread, and we're gonna do the outline of the bottom of the snow globe in split stitch like we did for the snow globe itself, but in red. So you can kind of start wherever you'd like. I usually pick a corner, like this one. Pull my thread all the way through and go forward. And then again, find your place in the middle of that stitch, in the middle of the thread, pull the needle up, and then one more forward. Come through that one more time. So just continue in red, finishing the outline. So now that you've completed the snow globe, if you don't want to do the lettering, you don't have to, and you can skip this next part and go right to placing this under warm water and letting it dissolve, which we'll go over in a little bit. If you do want to practice lettering, I used 2 strands of the black thread so that it's particularly thin. And I'm just gonna do a really small outline stitch or back stitch and start at the very beginning. And this can be kind of tedious and it might not always look the best. So give yourself some practice and some time, and it does help to try and make the stitches smaller, again with less thread. But if you don't feel like practicing lettering, then you are all done and you can fast forward to the next segment about how to remove the sticky paper and let the stitching kind of come through. If you'd like to keep going with the lettering, you're just going to keep going one small stitch forward at a time until you're completely done. So now you've completed your embroidery pattern and you're just going to separate the hoops, popping one off and the other one, and then we're going to let this soak in warm water, and the sticky paper will be dissolved and underneath you'll see your stitching. So now that you've used warm water and you have dissolved all of the sticky material, your stitches are what's left, and you're gonna dry it off by putting it back in the hoop. Then it might take a day or so to dry, that's okay. But this is where you wanna have a little bit of time to make sure you place it directly where you want it to end up and be nice and tight with the fabric. So you have put it in the middle of the hoop, you've screwed the top, and then you can just hang it somewhere for about a day until the fabric dries on both sides. So your fabric is dry. It's in the embroidery hoop at the place where you'd like it. We're gonna flip it to the back, take your needle and thread, and we're just gonna do a long running stitch with the same strand of thread. So keep some extra here, and you're just gonna go across the entire outer edge of the fabric, kind of going in and then out, and in and then out. So continue this across the whole end of the fabric. So you finished the outline. You're going to take your needle off the thread, and you'll find the two ends of the thread and pull them together. And if you can, make a knot or two here. So it holds the fabric. And then when you're ready, you can kind of cut and you're finished. You can hang your hoop and you've finished. Thank you so much for joining me.